We all know the classic waveforms: ramp, triangle, saw, sine. And by now you also likely know that these waveforms are analogous to the read shapes on the MultiMod: forward, backward, ping pong, wow, and flutter. But let's take a little deeper look at the other three shapes. The pink shape in the LFO mode, in other words with nothing in the input, is a square wave. Now, square wave would not really work as a read shape, because what it would do is jump immediately back and forth between 0 and 360 degrees in the time cycle. In other words, two instances of exactly the same moment. In short, in many cases, it would do nothing at all. So instead, we have the staircase shape when this input is in use. We could consider this as very similar to the ramp shape, in other words, forward playback, but instead of playing back smoothly, it updates immediately at the individual channel's spread rate, jumping up the ramp like it is a staircase. Since the ramp only denotes the position of the playback within the time cycle and not an actual shape that is being inscribed by voltage, as the ramp LFO mode would be, it's actually jumping through from one position to the other on the material that's coming into the input. So the shape created is often a highly stepped rendition of the shape that comes in. But let's check it out. We'll take a basic cycling function from maths for easy legibility. Now, if we go with a very short time with spread at midnight, we can hear a very quickly stepped and decently accurate rendition of what's going in. But let's slow down time. We hear that the result becomes more stepped. Or rather, the steps are longer. After a certain point, the steps will become longer than the whole length of the cycling function, and so its shape is lost, so to speak. Of course, we can spread the channels out to hear faster steps on some channels. In any read shape, but especially in these chunky, discontinuous ones, I really like to think of it as I'm feeding the MultiMod. Since the copies are all chopped up, it's like making a coleslaw or a smoothie or something. And between time, spread, and the chosen shape, we can sort of set how rough or smooth to chop it and how much to mix it up. For example, let's go to stepped random. Here, each channel jumps to a random place, random places in the orbit at its own internal clock rate. like the staircase, it's not really directly representing the shape that comes in the input. But the shape does have an effect because it determines the likelihood of any given value. For example, if we make this function logarithmic, we're feeding the input with more high values and fewer low values. So the random outputs are more likely to be on the higher side. Alternatively, if we make the function more exponential, we're feeding it with more low values and fewer high ones. So the random outputs are more likely to be on the lower side. A linear shape results in even distribution of low and high. Now if we attenuate this wave and offset it up and down at the math's sum output, we can hear that even though we're randomizing the location of the entire orbit, the output is limited to the range of voltage that we actually put in. So we can do a very targeted random here. If we put in a gate stream, we essentially get random gates at the outputs, and by adjusting the duty cycle or pulse width of those incoming gates, we have control over the probability. So a wider pulse width means we're more likely to get gates at the output at any given time, and a narrower pulse width means we're less likely to. Let's send a slow cycle from the other side to modulate the rise time, and therefore modulate the gate density over time. We can also clock the MultiMod if we want more regularly timed gate events. Now the Ramplets shape jumps to a random position and then moves forward, so it represents a little portion of the signal. If we feed it with this same exponential function, the outputs will sound like a whole flock of miniature pieces of it, starting at different heights and having different curves, steeper the higher up they start. Ramplets shape should actually probably get its own video, because there are a lot of ways to use this. Can you think of any? let us know in the comments, because I think it'd be fun to make that video as exhaustive as possible. Thanks for watching, and happy patching.